What's going on, tribe, and happy Black History Month. My name is Nekol.
And my name is Kia, and we are the co-owners of Glamourina.
Glamourina is an inclusive women's lifestyle brand specializing in culturally inspired activewear, intentionally designed to complement all complexions and body types. Our mission is to provide a safe space in health and wellness where every body belongs.
Yes. Welcome to Behind Glamourina, Moms on a Mission podcast, where we discuss how we balance being successful Black women entrepreneurs, working 9-to-5 jobs, motherhood, self-care, and everything in between.
Yes. So thank you guys so much for tuning into our very first episode. Before we dive into the topics for today, we want to have a mental health check-in every episode just to, see how we're doing, see how each other's doing. And so you, while you're listening, you have that mental health check-in too. So Kia, how are you feeling today? Where are you mentally? What's your mental health check-in?
Yes, I love mental health check-ins. I think that's important. Where am I? I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like, it's the new year. And for someone like me that suffers from anxiety, that can often bring a little bit of pressure, of, what are all the things that I accomplished last year and what do I want to accomplish this year? So I'm giving myself space to take my time, especially the month of January, and think about what are my intentions and what do I want to accomplish this year, rather than trying to squeeze it in, real fast, if that makes sense. So that's kind of where I am now. How about you, Nekol?
I need to take a note out of that book because I'm that person that always has to be on go. I just don't feel I'm not trying to compete with anybody. I'm not trying to outdo anybody, but I'm always, if I'm not doing 1,000 things, I feel like I'm losing in life.
Yeah.
So I'm really at a place where I'm like, okay, just soak it in. You can't always be on go and really reap the benefits of what you're doing if you don't take a minute to pause. So I'm definitely working on trying to pause, trying to live in the moment. And I think that's mentally where I am. I'm overwhelmed, but trying to give myself that, that time to soak it in. Because when it's gone, it's gone. We have one life, right? So if you're just always on go and you never enjoy it.
Yep.
So
I think taking a break, allowing ourselves to have moments where we're not doing anything. You know what I mean? Really having breaks in our life. I think that's important. Well, we thought it would be only right to kick off our Black History Month with our very first podcast episode as we take you through our journey as Black women and Black women business owners. In today's episode of Behind Glamourina, Moms on a Mission, we want to talk about our personal backgrounds and what led us to coming together to create a brand that has become a community pillar in inspiring health and wellness and driving generational wealth.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, that's what we've built with this business. We have really become this pillar in the community. People look up to the brand that we've built. And I don't think personally, I don't think we ever thought we would be as far as we are with the brand. So I think having this podcast, taking people who haven't heard of the business, who have supported the business, just behind the business to see and learn more about us as the co-founders and how we got to this point, I think it's important for people and will be motivation to people who do want to start their own business.
Definitely. I think also with our podcast and while we're starting this, guys, we really want to continue our relationship with customers outside of just the shopping experience. We want to kind of give you guys an open door to just how it's been in terms of running a business. Again, being Black women, moms. I mean, we're going to be talking about everything. So this is going to be a space for us to really dive into all of these intricate parts of our lives, invite you guys to share your stories. I'm sure we'll have guests eventually. So we're just starting out with us two sharing our story, but we also want to be able to invite anyone who knows us or wants to, share their input on a certain topic. So yeah, this is just opportunity because we are so appreciative. We love our customers. Like Nekol said, I mean, we came together 7 years ago, which I know this is going to dive into the story, mm-hmm. but we came together 7 years ago with this idea. And to have put out our first collection in 2015 and to be putting out a new collection every year and have all of these people buying our things. And we have some really loyal customers. I mean, if you have a business out there and you put a product or a service out and you see like people wearing it or using the product and they're raving about it, that's really amazing. That really feels good. Like, wow, I'm doing something right. Cause we had a lot of trial and error. Yeah. We had a lot of trial and error. So, So anyway.
No, I mean, we can dive in. Like, this doesn't, like, we want y'all to know that this is like super real, raw. Like, we're not going to come in here and be super robotic or have to be looking super perfect for the video platform when we, post this on video. So it's just really, taking you guys behind the scenes. So like Kia said, we've been doing this for 7 years. And I wanted to just take it back for a quick sec of how we even came together and started. So many people ask us this and want to know this. So just kind of wanted to set the tone for the first episode to say, okay, this is who we are and kind of how we came together. So I'll, give a brief on myself. So I have a visual art background. I'm a mom. When we came together, that was like 2015, I want to say, where we had our first conversation. And I had finished art school. I was doing this hand painted shoe collection and just pushing that. So I've always had like this entrepreneur mindset. And that's when Kia approached me about, coming together in some way. So I don't know if Kia, you want to dive in.
Yes. That's right. I think I said we put out our first collection in 2015, but that was 2017. Yeah, we came together in 2015. So I have a teaching background. Actually went to school for sociology. So like many of us, maybe doing something different than what our degree was in. But I started teaching right after college, and I started to Glamourina as this blog and, was just kind of rolling with that for a little bit. And I saw Nekol, I met her through family and saw, her being a model and a visual artist, a painter. And she had a shoe collection. And so, I thought, let's team up in some capacity. And it was great. It was magic almost because we, weren't the best. I don't want to say we weren't best of friends. We didn't really know each other. You know what I mean? We just saw each other through family and we would say the pleasantries. Hi, how are you? But we didn't really know each other. But Nekol and I had both become mothers. At this point, by the time I approached Nekol, we were both moms. And so I feel like right away we could connect that we were mothers and we were connected in this family. And I approached her about the idea, let's do something with this Glamourina, and so that's when it all started in terms of us brainstorming different ideas of where we wanted to take the business. Like I said, I was teaching. I also started personal training. And so the brainstorming, we had a few different ideas, in terms of where we started and then how we came to have an athletic line.
Yeah. And I want to say that's true. That's very true. And I just want to say for people listening who may be listening because they want to start a business, have a successful business, it's okay if you start with one idea and end up with another one. So we started like a lot of people in fashion, you have this little boutique idea where you're just reselling clothes and you're, just trying to sell the trends, right? Kia and I, we packed up the kids. We drove up to New York. We started like shopping those wholesale in the wholesale district, I think it was called, or fashion district. I'm not sure. I think wholesale in New York, drove up there, paid all this money for tolls and all this stuff. Took our small children on the streets of New York as we like handpicked out all these clothes that we wanted to resell, only to find out that it was so cliche. Everybody was doing it. It was really nothing new. It didn't inspire us really. I think you might agree, Kia, with that. It's like, it was just doing it.
I know. What's so funny is like when you look back at certain decisions that you made in the beginning of starting anything new, but especially a business. And it's like, what in the world were we thinking? I mean, if we were going to wholesale clothes, we could have went anywhere. Mm-hmm. I don't know why we chose New York. And then we did. We went on a day and a lot of stores were closed. I don't know if we went on a Sunday. Like we went on the wrong day. A lot of stores were closed. Like you said, I had Layla, I had my daughter in a stroller. I think you had your daughter in a stroller, like a bigger kid stroller, but something so that she didn't have to walk. Because we were traveling, walking around the streets. We rented a car, guys, drove up to New York, parked the car somewhere, then walked around the streets of New York looking for boutiques and things like that to purchase items to resell. Because we thought Glamourina was going to be a boutique, an online boutique that resold clothes that were already made, apparel that was already made. And say, I mean, it was a lesson learned. It didn't work. It
didn't work. Yeah, but I think I think that's the beauty in it, to be honest. When I think back on these 7 years, I feel like is this year 8 now we're starting?
I think so, yeah.
When I think back on it, I can appreciate the journey. Mm-hmm. I feel like if we had, we've had some successes where with the current activewear brand, we've gotten like so many orders in a day. And if we hadn't had this journey, if we hadn't learned all these things along the way, I don't think we will be prepared for it. Be prepared for the rush and the success. So I think a takeaway from our journey, just in figuring out what we wanted to do, is everything you do on your journey is going to prepare you for what you're meant to have. The success that you're meant to have. You have to trust the process. Trust the process.
Yeah.
Is the tagline.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so then from this boutique, we had this boutique, right? We actually we did a couple photo shoots. We got some models.
Yeah. We had models, photo shoots.
Yeah, we were doing some of the right things. Like, it wasn't in vain. We actually would try to sell those clothes. But I think in like 1 year time span, we may have gotten like 2 orders. Mm-hmm. I don't know the math, but we didn't remember. I can't remember.
Just, there really wasn't a real plan, I guess. We thought we got some clothes, we'll sell these. And we didn't really think about, even if we did sell all of those items, what were we going to do next? Because we didn't have any more of those same thing. You know what I mean? We had one size and one item. So I guess that was the store we were going to be. We have one size. I don't know. It wasn't sustainable, but it was a learning experience. We didn't have a plan. Yeah. We were just young and like excited for something new. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, I think. And so I was like, I just want to do something. Okay. It was just so funny. I
don't know. It was definitely a journey, but then we had another idea. We don't have to go into every idea, but we had another idea. We wanted to do like these African print bathing suits. Yes. Mind you, we had not seen it anywhere at that time. That was like maybe still 2015, early 2016, something like that, where our daughters are, Nigerian, their dad's a Nigerian. So we wanted to incorporate that cultural essence into something. So we were sourcing fabrics and prints and things like that. But at the time, I don't know if you remember this, Kia, we went to even a local manufacturer and they were like, oh, no, we can't put that print on swimsuits. Like, that's not possible. Or either it was going to cost too much or something like that. But it was so many barriers trying to get that done.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's amazing to think about. You're right. I think it was like 2015, 2016. We had this idea of doing swimwear. And a lot of people ask, why African print? Where do we get that from? And they don't really, maybe not. Some people might just think, oh, you just want to represent Africa. Yes. But also, like you said, our daughters, their fathers are Nigerian. So us having daughters by Nigerian men, you and I were introduced into Nigerian culture. Me personally, I had never really met Africans like that talked about their culture like that. You know what I mean? I mean, where I'm from is predominantly Caucasian. Even being a military I've just known African Americans, Black Americans. So really meeting Africans when I moved to Maryland and went to College Park and being in that DMV area and being introduced to that culture was like, wow, it's just so beautiful to me. And the prints and stuff. So, you and I have a connection to our daughter's grandmother. She had these fabrics, and I remember us meeting, and I don't know, the idea just came out of nowhere of like, swimsuit, what if we put this African fabric on the swimsuit? Like, how would that look? Because no one had done that yet.
Right.
And I remember I cut out the fabric one day and sewed it onto the swimsuit so we could get a prototype. And so this was before, guys, like there's some popular, beautiful African printed swimwear out there, but so I'm not saying no one else had that idea. I'm not saying that. Obviously, other people were probably thinking the same thing, but I do feel like we had it first.
Yeah,
we didn't come out with it.
We couldn't
come out with it because we didn't know. Like you said, we went to the manufacturer. I think it was going to be a lot of money, and what we realized is that local manufacturers, meaning manufacturers in the U.S., costs are 5 times more than outsourcing to a manufacturer overseas. Which is why a lot of businesses do that. They get manufacturing whatever goods and services in a different country because in the US, it is really expensive. And we went to a manufacturer in Baltimore and we just didn't know. We didn't know. We were young and dumb. That's how I always think about it, because it was really a learning process for us in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been a journey. We learned a lot along the way, but once we really were like, Kia was heavy into the fitness, and she started thinking about, doing this activewear or fitness wear because, still today, but that even more back then, you rarely saw Black women in fitness advertisements just looking happy and healthy, right? I know growing up, I had never saw that. I had this stigma, and I think a lot of people who grew up early 2000s, 90s as a kid in the Black community, so, in urban Black communities, we thought it was funny. If we saw somebody working out outside, if they weren't an athlete, we would laugh at them like, hi, you're working out. Oh, you're working out in the cold. You know what I mean? So the narrative that I grew up on was just because I didn't see the representation. I didn't know it was cool. I didn't know working out could make you happier. And, I just didn't know. So I think that, Kia having this spark of like, what about fitness? What about fitness apparel? And then me just loving, I love athleisure because it's comfortable, but then also trying to incorporate these prints because I'm an artist. I love prints. I love bold colors. I love design. So I'm like, it just sounded like the perfect idea, the perfect concept to pursue.
Definitely. Yeah, you're right. Going from the swimwear to it was like a natural transition. I think we were just like, we can't do the swimwear. I don't know. We just decided, no, we don't want to move with that. So I can't remember exactly what happened from swimwear to athletic, but we did that. I think it was also what was going on in the world. And people were talking about leggings and wearing leggings more. So that was happening in terms of athleisure and activewear becoming more popular and people wearing them. But I think we really wanted to add a twist. We didn't just want to do activewear. I mean, that's an important aspect for us because we want our community to be healthier and active. I mean, we care about the women in our community. You have sisters. We both have aunts. We have women in our mothers. We have women in our lives that we can see may not be taking the best care of themselves or, not being very healthy and it's affecting them. And so that's a concern for us. So there's that aspect that we really do care about community of women in our lives and around us and their health. But also, so that I think that was part of the drive of wanting to have an activewear line. But the thing with Glamourina is we still wanted to have that African aspect. We still wanted to bring, the African prints and really, really open up into our culture and being celebrated and loving these bright prints and things like that from Africa and standing out and not being just a simple, color. Not that there's anything wrong with solid colors or anything, but our desire to still want to incorporate Africa into our designs we wanted that because, like you said, we didn't see Black women in any advertising. Like there's no, like you said, your narrative of growing up was, it's not cool to work out or to be healthy. For me, growing up with mostly white people, for me was like, we want to be really skinny and like we exercise, like, but so I didn't see me though. Like if I see the advertisements with the yoga clothes and the cute stuff, I didn't see the Black girl. And if I did, she was like super fit or already skinny. And she was like racially ambiguous. She really wasn't dark skinned. She didn't have natural hair. I didn't see any of that stuff. In terms of ads, you know what I mean?
And when you see stuff like that, it's like, it makes you feel like you don't belong. It's like these companies are saying, this is for us, you don't belong because we're not showing you. So they're not really marketing to you because they're unconsciously saying that this is not your space. And that's kind of how I take it when I see things like that. I'm like, well, you know, why am I not there? And you know, since we've kind of gotten into the brand, obviously more businesses want to make money, right? So a lot of people are trying to include us now, but it's just like, when you don't see yourself, it's almost like, nah, you don't belong here. Yes. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah.
That's
for
what
sure.
you're telling me. Yeah. So I think that another connection to us using the African prints was like, you know, we want a space for women to belong, to feel like motivated and inspired to be healthier, but we want to connect it to our roots. You know what I mean?
Right.
We know where we come from, even though some Black people, African Americans, they're not consciously thinking about it, but we know where we come from. So we wanted to incorporate that. So when women put on these pieces that we designed specifically for us, they feel represented, they feel their roots, and they're just more inspired and more conscious of what they're doing and why.
Right. Definitely. And it's interesting. I remember this experience. I was living in downtown Bethesda, and I was invited to this yoga class by one of my Black friends. But the yoga in the studio and stuff in Bethesda was all white. And so my friends, and this is my life. This is like my life because I grew up around mostly being the only Black. That's my experience. From childhood, I've had family, and like I got, you know, introduced to Black culture, obviously. But in terms of schools and neighborhood, it was like mostly I was one of few. So I'm used to it, but it never goes away. And then, so when you experience it again, it still brings that feeling of like, oh God. So I remember walking into this yoga class and my friend wasn't there yet. And you just feel and see, like, I don't feel like I belong at all. You know what I mean? And so it's not even just advertisements and things like that, like even spaces, even the actual fitness spaces. And we got lots of time to talk about this later, but that's why I'm so happy to see so many Black owned fitness, yoga studios, meditation stuff. Like, I'm glad for that I know sometimes people might think, oh, you got to be inclusive. Like, why are you saying it's just for Black women? We need to have a space like that to feel comfortable, because for me, when I walked into that space, my friend, they're looking at me like, almost like, what do you want? Like, even the way I feel like people looked at me, it's like, why are you here, you know, doing yoga with us?
Yeah, I felt that way too.
You
and
need
I
some
feel
help,
like,
ma'am, are you lost? Like, that's how I felt.
No, seriously. I have had the opposite experience growing up. As I've been around all Black people. And when I've gone, like, if I used to think that just Maryland, coming from the hood in DC, I used to think that Maryland was just full of white people because I hadn't been outside of my area. So I hadn't really been around white people like that. So mine was the opposite. But even still, when you walk into, you know, once you get introduced into fitness, you're like, you know, I'm going to start going to yoga. I'm going to start going to a nice gym or whatever. And you go in there, you do feel uncomfortable. I don't care what your background was. Most Black people were going to feel uncomfortable because we know the history of us with white people. So I've gone into spaces and I'm like, you know, I'm like hiding.
Don't want to take too much space.
Because you just never know what you're getting yourself into. You never know how people are perceiving you just because of the color of your skin. So that's so real. And I know a lot of our listeners have at some point been in that space, whether it was a yoga studio, a restaurant, or anything in between. It's like, you walk in, you're the only Black person, you don't feel like you belong, and you're on edge a little bit. You're like, okay, what is this about to be?
Right.
But yeah, I think us advertising to a brand for Black women, to Black women, from Black women is just important and it's needed. And we're going to continue to continue to make sure that we belong as Black designers in this space and that our community belong as Black women in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly how we both describe the feeling of not feeling, not belonging, going into a space again, where maybe the only Black or the only whatever. And it's just like, the way that they have it set up, the way that I feel is like, I'm not supposed to be here, but we are supposed to be there. That's the unique and most important part is Black women deserve to be healthy and have peace and calmness and meditate. And we can be soft and like, I feel like there's not enough still images and narrative about that show Black women with ease and softness. Like we're not all hard and fighting. I don't know. It's just like that feeling that's happening in society and around us. That's why it's been great. And it's so important for Black people have been creating our own. And that's like the greatest thing. There have been Black owned businesses for centuries. I mean, for years and years, but I really love that in terms of our generations, to see more and more Black entrepreneurs just taking hold of like, okay, so you don't have hand soap like for my skin or what I'm going to create my own hand soap. You don't have laundry detergent for like things for us. I'm going to create my own. I mean, that's so great. And so for us, being in the activewear market, seeing, again, advertisements, we don't see that. And so Nekol and I just were like, we are going to create that ourselves. You might not see, in an ad, a 3X woman like working out and her body moving, just like Lizzo talks about all the time, because some people are like disgusted by, that. And it's the same thing for really skinny girls. Like I've been super, super skinny and I've had friends that are just tell me about their experiences too, about if they're at the gym, they feel uncomfortable and not even just in the gym, but just feeling like your body is not enough or you're not good enough. And I love that we in Glamourina have consciously made a decision that our advertising, our inclusion, our designing, it's not even just advertising, but honestly, it starts with the design. Our designing is going to include a variety of body types. We want to show that because we want Black women to feel represented, to feel like you belong in our Glamourina community. That's so important to us.
Yeah, so important. And again, with this first episode, we really kind of wanted to introduce ourselves to the podcast space, introduce ourselves to our tribe around the world, social media customers, whatever, that know us, but don't, haven't really gotten the inside of who we are or haven't seen us speak. And we want to do that with this podcast, give you guys this background and our why. Really, our why is what we're trying to push with this podcast for people in this space who want to be in this space or who just want that motivation, when it comes to Black culture, Black business, health and wellness. That's what we're here for. That's what the brand is. We're going to continue to push the narrative, continue to put out products that are for us, that fit us well, that fit us in the areas we know we need to fit us for our skin tones. And like Kia said, no matter the body type, we're showing it all because that's who we are. And another thing when it comes to just body image is whether you're skinny on the plus side or in the middle, like I know I've seen people where I'm like, girl, your body looks good. And they're like, no, you don't see this. If we always have this thing, like we don't ever feel like we're perfect or we're where we want to be. But this space is really to help us love ourselves where we are. Love who you are at the moment. Like if you have goals for your body, fine. That's fine. But don't hate who you are because that's not healthy. So just trying to push that narrative too in everything that we do.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I think we can probably wrap up for our first episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for supporting us. We have so many supporters all over the world. And sometimes I wake up and I'm like, how did we get here? Everything has been organic. We haven't really paid for marketing. People are just finding us. And we appreciate it. We appreciate all of the support. So this is our first episode of Behind Glamourina, Moms on a Mission. We have a passion for building sisterhood through wellness and creating a safe space where all women feel like they belong.
Definitely. And again, thank you guys for listening, for watching, for deciding to go along on this journey with us. There's so much to share. And like, we're really excited to just, again, like kind of step off the platform of Glamourina and us, the selling, the transaction part, and really continue our relationship with our followers and customers and anyone that wants to get to know us as business owners. So thank you guys. Continue to catch each episode. Be sure to visit glamourina.com to shop culturally inspired activewear that reminds you that you are enough. Stay well. And until next episode, see you guys.